Welcome back to Economic Eye. Today we will discuss the economy of Vietnam. Vietnam is a Southeast Asian country that has completely transformed itself in the last 3 decades. From over 70% of the population working in agriculture in 1985, now the service sector contributes around 42% to the Vietnamese GDP. Vietnam is an economic miracle that the world has witnessed in the last 30 years. Despite its population growing by a quarter during this time, the standard of living has improved overwhelmingly along with strengthening the economy. The poverty rate of Vietnam has dropped from over 60% to less than 5% over the last 30 years. Surprisingly, Vietnam was the only major Southeast Asian country to avoid a recession in the 2020 global economic downturn due to the COVID-19 pandemic. By 1975, the nation's economic infrastructure was completely destroyed due to the deadly Vietnam War. The country was a member of the Comecon and hence had fixed pricing strategies. Comecon was an alliance between the communist countries founded by Joseph Stalin in response to the U.S. Marshall Plan for the European countries. Due to this alliance, the USSR was the largest trading partner of Vietnam, and by mid-80s it was realized that full-blown communism will not work for Vietnam. Hence new economic reforms named Doi Moi were launched in 1986 to help the struggling economy. The Doi Moi reforms proved fundamental for the economic rise of Vietnam. These reforms were focused on preparing the command economy of Vietnam for a freer economic structure. The renovation plan moved from collectivization, allowing individual farming, which led to farmers charging any price they want for their produced crops. This provided an incentive to farmers to increase production, as this would increase their profits as well. Through these reforms, the Vietnamese currency was devalued in an attempt to increase exports, and budget deficits were controlled. The inefficient state-owned monopolies were also cut down, facilitated by sell-offs, mergers, and restructuring. The country had 12,000 state-owned corporations in 1989, while had only 600 in 2017. This all went hand in hand with encouraging private businesses. All of these reforms caused a decline in employment in agriculture and state-owned enterprise and caused a rise in the private sector of the country. In 1987, the country made the foreign investment law that enabled foreign companies to enter the Vietnamese market. In 1994, the U.S. trade embargo on Vietnam was lifted, which paved the way for it to join ASEAN Free Trade Area and sign a free trade agreement with the U.S. in 2000. Vietnam is a champion in free trade-based development economics, as it has signed over a dozen of free trade agreements. As a member of the ASEAN grouping of nations, Vietnam already has benefited considerably from the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, which has substantially removed tariffs on trade between ASEAN member countries since 2010. Association of Southeast Asian Nations also has a network of free trade agreements with other major Asia-Pacific economies, most notably the China-ASEAN Free Trade Area, which entered into force in 2010. This network of free trade agreements has helped to strengthen Vietnam's competitiveness as a low-cost manufacturing export hub. Vietnam will also benefit from the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Free Trade Agreement known as RCEP, which will be implemented from the 1st of January 2022. The 15 RCEP countries are the ASEAN 10 nations, plus China, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. Vietnam has already ratified the RCEP agreement and will therefore benefit immediately from the date of RCEP implementation. The agreement covers a wide range of areas, including trade in goods and services, investment, e-commerce, intellectual property, and government procurement. Vietnam also invested a lot in its human capital, which is shown by multiple parameters. It attracts multinationals not only due to the cheap labor but also skilled one. Vietnam is now in a period of golden population structure, as 60% of its population are working age. It also has a favorable geographical location right at the heart of East Asia, home to a number of large and vibrant economies. Also, the Vietnamese government is continuing to revitalize its business and investment climate. All these efforts have paved the way for Vietnam to capitalize on its free trade agreements and attract lucrative foreign investment. The exporter Vietnam is a major exporting economy as it exports goods and services worth over $290 billion. Vietnam has emerged as an important electronics exporter, with electrical and electronic products overtaking coffee, textiles, and rice to become the country's top export item. Samsung is Vietnam's largest exporter and has helped the country achieve a trade surplus for the first time in many years. In fact, Samsung produces more than 50% of their smartphones in Vietnam. Vietnam is also the region's largest exporter of clothing and the second largest exporter of electronics after Singapore. Vietnam has benefited a lot from the shift in production from China to other countries. Vietnam provides the manufacturers with cheap and skilled labor along with stable government policies that increase investor confidence. The reason behind Vietnam being the #1 contender for businesses moving out of China is the similar export base of both countries like clothing, electronics, computers, and furniture. Both nations produce relatively similar products, hence Vietnam becomes an obvious choice for manufacturing giants trying to move out of China. Vietnam has surely made remarkable progress in the last 3 decades, and its reforms of 1986 cannot be understated as they have been the pillars of development for Vietnam to its current state. It would be an oversimplification to say that Vietnam's success has been built on an exodus from China. The country is very attractive due to its commitment to free trade, investment in human capital, and an emerging middle class. Prospects of heavy tariffs linger upon Vietnam due to its enormous trade surplus, which can potentially hinder Vietnam's roadmap to a developed economy. An aging population and fast-paced automation are some factors that pose a threat to Vietnam. Overall, it is correct to state that up till now Vietnam has been a great success for its people and the world. On a broader note, Vietnam's COVID-19 vaccine rollout program lagged significantly behind the rate of vaccination progress in many OECD nations as well as in most other APAC emerging markets during the first half of 2021. Even by late August 2021, the first dose vaccination rate for Vietnam had only reached 15% of the total population, compared with 80% in Singapore, 56% in Malaysia, and 50% in Japan. The fully vaccinated share of the Vietnamese population was still extremely low by late August 2021, at only 3%. However, the pace of vaccination rollout has risen very rapidly in September and October, with the first dose vaccination rate rising to 63% by the 8th of November, while the fully vaccinated share of the population has risen to 31%. Nevertheless, with the fully vaccinated share of the total population still at around only 1/3, Vietnam still remains vulnerable to escalating new COVID-19 transmission, which could result in renewed lockdown measures. Vietnam is also set to benefit from its growing network of free trade agreements. It's safe to say that a key beneficiary of the shift in global manufacturing supply chains will be the Asean region, with Vietnam expected to be one of the main winners here also. I hope that you enjoyed this video on the economy of Vietnam. Do leave a like as a token of appreciation for our work. Share it with others. Leave a comment with your suggestions regarding this video or future videos. Subscribe for our motivation and to get notified when our videos are uploaded. Till then, goodbye.